Welcome to our channel. Hollywood Movie Review. La La Land 2016 Movie Review. La La Land is a 2016 American musical romantic comedy drama film written and directed by Damien Chazelle. It stars Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone as a struggling jazz pianist and an aspiring actress who meet and fall in love while pursuing their dreams in Los Angeles. The supporting cast includes John Legend, Rosemary DeWitt, Vin Whitrock, and J.K. Simmons. Having been fond of musicals during his time as a drummer, Chazelle first conceptualized the film alongside Justin Hurwitz while attending Harvard University together. After moving to Los Angeles in 2010, Chazelle penned the script but did not find a studio willing to finance the production without changes to his design. After the success of his film Whiplash, 2014, the project was picked up by Summit Entertainment. Miles Teller and Emma Watson were originally in talks to star, but after both dropped out, Gosling and Stone were cast. Filming took place in Los Angeles between August and September 2015, with the film's score composed by Horowitz, who also wrote the film's songs with lyricists Benj Pasek and Justin Paul, and the dance choreography by Mandy Moore. La La Land premiered at the 73rd Venice International Film Festival on August 31, 2016, and was released theatrically in the United States on December 9, by Lionsgate. The film emerged as a major commercial success, grossing $447 million worldwide during its initial run, and received widespread acclaim from critics, particularly for Chazelle's direction and screenplay, the performances of Gosling and Stone, the score, musical numbers, cinematography, visual style, costumes, and production design. It went on to receive numerous accolades, including winning a record 7 awards at the 74th Golden Globe Awards and received 11 nominations at the 70th British Academy Film Awards, winning 5, including Best Film. The film also received a record-tying 14 nominations at the 89th Academy Awards, winning in 6 categories including Best Director and Best Actress, Stone. Its loss in the Best Picture category, to Moonlight, made it the most nominated film at the Oscars to lose Best Picture, until Sinners' loss, to One Battle After Another, in 2026. At age 32, Chazelle became the youngest winner of Best Director. It has since been regarded as one of the best films of the 2010s and the 21st century, and as one of the best musical films of all time. As of February 2023, a stage musical adaptation is in the works. While stuck in Los Angeles traffic, Another Day of Sun, jazz pianist Sebastian Seb Wilder has a moment of road rage directed at aspiring actress Amelia Mia Dolan. After a hard day at work, Mia's next audition goes awry because the casting director takes a phone call during an emotional scene. That night, her roommates take her to a lavish party in the Hollywood Hills, promising her that it could jumpstart her career. Someone in the crowd. After her car is towed, she walks home in disappointment. During a gig at a restaurant, Seb slips into jazz improvisation despite the owner's warning to only play traditional Christmas pieces. Mia hears him playing as she passes by. Moved, she enters the restaurant and observes Seb being fired for his disobedience. Mia attempts to compliment him as he storms out, but he roughly shoulders past her. Months later, she runs into Seb at a party where he plays in a 1980s pop cover band. Mia requests that Seb play I Ran for her. After the gig, they walk to their cars and lament wasting the night on each other, a lovely night, despite their clear chemistry. Seb arrives at the cafe where Mia works, and she shows him around the Warner Brothers backlit while expressing her passion for movies and acting. He takes her to a jazz club, where he shares his passion for jazz and his dream to open his own jazz club. Seb invites Mia to a screening of Rebel Without a Cause, 1955, and she accepts. Mia later remembers a conflicting dinner date with her boyfriend, and initially forgoes the movie to go on the original date. However, finding herself bored with the date, she rushes to the theater and finds Seb just as the film begins. When the screening is interrupted by a projector malfunction, Seb and Mia spend the rest of the evening together with a romantic visit to the Griffith Observatory, where they share a kiss. After more failed auditions, Mia decides, with Seb's encouragement, to write a one-woman play. Seb begins to perform regularly at a jazz club, and the two of them eventually move in together, City of Stars. Keith, a former bandmate of Seb's, invites him to be the keyboardist in a new jazz pop band, which will give him a steady income. Although dismayed by the band's pop style, Seb signs on after hearing Mia trying to convince her mother that he is working on his career. The band finds success, but Mia knows their music is not the type of music Seb wants to perform. Start a fire. During the band's first tour, Seb and Mia argue. She accuses him of abandoning his dreams, while he accuses that she liked him more when he was unsuccessful because it made her feel better about herself. 2 weeks later, Seb misses Mia's play because of a photo shoot he had forgotten about. The play fails, very few people attend, and Mia overhears dismissive comments about her performance. Unable to forgive Seb for missing her play and for their previous argument, Mia breaks up with Seb and returns to her hometown of Boulder City, Nevada. Seb receives a call from a prominent casting director who attended Mia's play, inviting her to audition for an upcoming film. Knowing that this could be her big break, he drives in a hurry to Boulder City to tell Mia. He successfully finds her house by recalling that she lived across the street from the library, where she first fell in love with acting. Seb persuades her to attend, and she reluctantly agrees to go. During the audition the next day, Mia is asked to tell a story. In response, she sings about how her aunt, a one-time stage actress who eventually died from alcoholism, inspired her to chase her dreams. Audition, The Fools Who Dream. Confident the audition was a success, Seb encourages Mia to devote herself to acting. The two recognize that they will always love each other despite what may come for their relationship. 5 years later, Mia is living a happy life as a successful actress and married to a different man, with whom she has a daughter. That night, the couple stumble upon a jazz bar. Recognizing the logo she had once designed, Mia realizes that Seb has opened his own jazz club. Seb notices Mia in the crowd and begins to play their love theme on the piano. The two imagine what their happy life together would have been. Epilogue, had their relationship thrived along with their careers, then acknowledge each other with a silent exchange of smiles. As a drummer, Chazelle is a big fan of musical films. He wrote the screenplay for La La Land in 2010, when the film industry seemed out of reach for him. His idea was to take the old musical but ground it in real life where things don't always exactly work out, and to salute creative people who moved to Los Angeles to chase their dreams. He conceived the film when he was a student at Harvard University with his classmate Justin Horowitz. The two explored the concept in their senior thesis through a low-budget musical about a Boston jazz musician, Guy and Madeline on a park bench. Chazelle was moved by the tradition of 1920s city symphony films, such as Manhattan, 1921, and Man with a Movie Camera, 1929, that paid tribute to cities. After graduating, both moved to Los Angeles in 2010 and continued writing the script, but made a few modifications, such as altering the location to Los Angeles instead of Boston. Rather than trying to match LA to the charms of Paris or San Francisco, he focused on the qualities that make the city distinctive: the traffic, the sprawl, and the skylines. The style and tone of the film were inspired by Jacques Demy's The Umbrellas of Cherbourg and The Young Girls of Rochefort, especially the latter, which was more dance and jazz oriented. The film also makes visual allusions to Hollywood classics such as Broadway Melody of 1940, Singin' in the Rain, The Bandwagon, and An American in Paris. About An American in Paris, Chazelle commented, "That's a movie that we just pillaged. It's an awesome example of how daring some of those old musicals really were." It shares some character development and themes with Chazelle's previous musical work, Whiplash. Chazelle said, "They're both about the struggle of being an artist and reconciling your dreams with the need to be human." La La Land is just much less angry about it. He said that both films reflect his own experiences as a filmmaker working his way up the Hollywood ladder. La La Land in particular is inspired by his experience of moving from the East Coast with preconceived notions of what LA would be like, that it was all just strip malls and freeways. Chazelle was unable to produce the film for years as no studio was willing to finance an original contemporary musical with no familiar songs. It is also a jazz musical, which The Hollywood Reporter called an extinct genre. He believed that since he and Horowitz were unknown at that time, it might have made financiers dubious about the project's potential. Gosling's character Sebastian holds a view of the jazz of the past being superior. According to an article by Anthony Carew, Chazelle wrote this character trait as a reflection of own relationship with the past and with jazz, too. Chazelle found producers through friends who introduced him to Fred Berger and Jordan Horowitz. With the two producers on board, the script went to Focus Features at a budget of around $1 million. The studio demanded alterations. The male lead was asked to be changed from a jazz pianist to a rock musician, the complicated opening number had to be altered, and the story's bittersweet ending needed to be dropped. Chazelle refused. Chazelle later wrote Whiplash, which was an easier concept to sell and a less risky investment. After Whiplash was well received by critics upon its premiere at the 2014 Sundance Film Festival in January, Chazelle continued his efforts to bring La La Land to the big screen. A year later, when Whiplash earned 5 Oscar nominations at the 87th Academy Awards, including Best Picture, and grossed nearly $50 million worldwide off a $3.3 million production budget, Chazelle and his project began to attract attention from studios. 5 years after Chazelle wrote the script, Summit Entertainment and Black Label Media, along with producer Mark Platt, agreed to invest in La La Land and distribute it. They had been impressed by the critical and commercial success of Whiplash. Lionsgate's Patrick Waxberger, who previously had worked on the Step Up franchise, pushed Chazelle to increase the film's budget since he felt high-quality musicals could not be made cheaply. Miles Teller and Emma Watson were originally slated to star in the leading roles. Watson dropped out to honor her commitments to Disney's live-action Beauty and the Beast remake, 2017, while Teller exited via long contract negotiations. Coincidentally, Gosling turned down the Beast role in Beauty and the Beast in favor of La La Land. Chazelle subsequently decided to make his characters somewhat older, with experience in struggling to make their dreams, rather than younger newcomers just arriving in Los Angeles. Emma Stone plays Mia, an aspiring actress in Los Angeles. Stone has loved musicals since she saw Les Miserables when she was 8 years old. She said bursting into song has always been a real dream of mine, and her favorite film is the 1931 Charlie Chaplin romantic comedy City Lights. She studied pom dancing as a child, with a year of ballet. She moved to Hollywood with her mother at age 15 to pursue a career, and struggled constantly to get an audition during her first year. When she did, she often was turned away after singing or saying just one line. Stone drew from her own experiences for her character of Mia, and some were added into the film. She met Chazelle in 2014 while she was making her Broadway debut in Cabaret. Chazelle and Horowitz saw her perform on a night when the actress had a cold. She met with Chazelle at Brooklyn Diner in New York City, where the director outlined his vision for the planned film. Stone gained confidence from performing in Cabaret to handle the demands of the film. In preparation for her role, Stone watched some of the musical movies that inspired Chazelle, including The Umbrellas of Cherbourg and Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers collaborations. Stone accepted the offer because Chazelle was so passionate about the project. Ryan Gosling plays Sebastian, a jazz pianist. Like Stone, Gosling drew from his own experiences as an aspiring artist. One incident was used for Mia. Gosling was performing a crying scene in an audition and the casting director took a phone call during it, talking about her lunch plans while he was emoting. Chazelle met with Gosling when he was about to begin filming for The Big Short. In addition to Gosling and Teller, Michael B. Jordan was also considered for the role of Sebastian. Chazelle cast Gosling and Stone immediately after Summit bought the film. He stated that the duo feel like the closest thing that we have right now to an old Hollywood couple, as akin to Spencer Tracy and Katharine Hepburn, Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers, Humphrey Bogart and Lauren Bacall, and Myrna Loy and William Powell. The film marked the third collaboration between Gosling and Stone, following Crazy, Stupid, Love, 2011, and Gangster Squad, 2013. Chazelle asked the two about their audition disasters when they were both trying to make it. Both learned to sing and dance for the film's 6 original tunes. The rest of the cast, J.K. Simmons, Sunwoya Mizuno, Jessica Roth, Callie Hernandez, Finn Whitrock, Rosemary DeWitt, John Legend, Jason Fuchs, Megan Faye, were announced between July and August 2015. The film was choreographed by Mandy Moore. Rehearsals took place at a production office in Atwater Village, Los Angeles over the span of 3 to 4 months, beginning in May 2015. Gosling practiced piano in one room, Stone worked with Moore in another, and costume designer Mary Zoffers had her own corner of the complex. Gosling, with no previous experience, had to learn how to play the piano, no hand models were used. Moore emphasized working on emotion rather than technique, which Stone said was key when they filmed the "A Lovely Night" scene, searching for the parked car. To help his cast and crew get their creative mode flowing, Chazelle held screenings on the sound stages every Friday night of classical films that had inspired him for the film, including The Umbrellas of Cherbourg, Singin' in the Rain, Top Hat, and Boogie Nights. From the beginning, Chazelle wanted the film's musical numbers to be filmed head to toe and performed in a single take, like those of the 1930s works of Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers. He also wanted the film to emulate the widescreen, cinemascope look of 1950s musicals such as It's Always Fair Weather. Consequently, the movie was shot on celluloid 4x Super 35mm film, not digitally, with Panavision anamorphic lenses in CinemaScope's 2.55:1 aspect ratio, but not in true CinemaScope as that technology is no longer available. Chazelle wanted Los Angeles to be the primary setting for his film, commenting that "there is something very poetic about the city, I think, about a city that is built by people with these unrealistic dreams and people who kind of just put it all on the line for that principle." Photography on the film officially began in the city on August 10, 2015, and filming took place in more than 60 locations both in and near Los Angeles, including the Angels Flight Trolley in downtown, houses in the Hollywood Hills, the Colorado Street Bridge, the Rialto Theater in South Pasadena, the Warner Brothers Studio Lot, the Grand Central Market, Hermosa Beach's Lighthouse Cafe, Griffith Observatory, Griffith Park, Chateau Marmont, the Watts Towers, and Long Beach 50, with many scenes shot in one take. It took 40 days to complete shooting, finishing in mid-September 2015. The opening pre-credits sequence was the first to be shot 19 and was filmed on a closed-off portion of 2 carpool direct connector ramps of the Judge Harry Pregerson interchange, connecting the I-105 carpool lane to the I-110 express lanes, leading to downtown Los Angeles. It was filmed in a span of 2 days, and required more than 100 dancers. For this particular scene, Chazelle wanted to give a sense of how vast the city is. The scene was originally planned for a stretch of ground-level highway, until Chazelle decided to shoot it in the 105 to 110 interchange, which arcs 100 feet, 30 m, in the air. Production designer David Wasco said, "I thought somebody was going to fall off and get killed. Not every portion of the highway was blocked." Chazelle compared the scene to the yellow brick road leading to the Emerald City in The Wizard of Oz, 1939. Chazelle scouted for old LA locations that were in ruins, or were perhaps razed. One such example was the use of the Angels Flight Trolley, built in 1901. The funicular had been closed in 2013 after a derailment. Attempts were made to repair and reopen the railway, but to no avail. However, the production team was able to secure permission to use it for a day. Chazelle and his crew then arranged to have it run for shooting. It was reopened to the public in 2017. Mia works at a coffee shop on the Warner Brothers studio lot. Chazelle considered studio lots to be monuments of Hollywood. Production designer Wasco created numerous fake old film posters. Chazelle occasionally created names for them, deciding to use the title of his first feature, Guy and Madeline on a Park Bench, 2009, for one poster, which reimagines it as a 1930s musical. He now iconic 6-minute-long A Lovely Night scene, searching for the parked car, had to be completed during the brief magic hour moment at sunset. It took 8 takes and 2 days to shoot it. When Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone finally nailed it, everybody just exploded, Stone said. Since Gosling and Stone were not primarily dancers, the two made a number of mistakes, especially during long uninterrupted single-take musical numbers. However, Chazelle was very sympathetic towards them, understanding their lack of experience and not minding their errors. While shooting Sebastian and Mia's first dance together, Stone stumbled over the back of a bench, but picked right up and kept on going with the scene. In 2024, Gosling reflected on the filming of this scene, wishing he could refilm it to correct the positioning of his hand in the famous still frame from the sequence that was used throughout the film's marketing, saying that it just killed the energy that way. It was all leading to what? A lazy. I call it La La Hand. Chazelle said that the romantic dinner that Sebastian prepared for Mia was one of the scenes that I think I wrote and rewrote more than any other in the script. Gosling and Stone also helped create the dialogue of the scene to get it to be one of the more realistic scenes in a film filled with fantasy and fantastical elements. Chazelle spent nearly a year editing the film with editor Tom Cross, as the two were primarily concerned with getting the tone right. The songs and score for La La Land were composed and orchestrated by Justin Hurwitz, Chazelle's Harvard University classmate, who also worked on his 2 prior films. The lyrics were written by Pasek and Paul, except for Start a Fire, which was written by John Legend, Hurwitz, Marius DeVries and Angelique Sinalou. A soundtrack album was released on December 9, 2016, by Interscope Records, featuring selections from Hurwitz's score and songs performed by the cast. The film's opening number, Another Day of Sun, shot as a single tracking shot on an LA freeway, received praise for its choreography. The songs City of Stars and Audition, The Fools Who Dream, received numerous awards. La La Land had its world premiere as the Venice Film Festival's opening night film on August 31, 2016. The film also screened at the Telluride Film Festival, the Toronto International Film Festival, beginning September 12, 2016, the BFI London Film Festival, the Middleburg Film Festival in late October 2016, the Virginia Film Festival, held at the University of Virginia on November 6, 2016, and the AFI Fest on November 15, 2016. La La Land was originally set for a July 15, 2016, release. However, in March 2016, it was announced the film would be given a limited release starting December 2, 2016, before expanding on December 16, 2016. Chazelle stated that the change was because he felt that the release date was not right for the context of the film, and because he wanted to have a slow rollout beginning with the early fall film festivals. The limited release was later moved back a week to December 9, 2016, with the wide release still being planned for December 16, 2016. Lionsgate opened the film in 5 locations on December 9, 2016, and expanded it to about 200 theaters on December 16, 2016, before going nationwide on December 25, 2016. The film went fully wide on January 6, 2017 with a release into select IMAX theaters a week later. La La Land was released in the United Kingdom on January 12, 2017. The film was released in the Netherlands on December 22, 2016, and in Australia on December 26, with the rest of the territories planned for a release from mid-January 2017. La La Land will be re-released in theaters for its 10th anniversary, showing in Dolby Vision High Dynamic Range Picture and Dolby Atmos Immersive Audio for the first time in AMC theaters, on August 16, 2026. Its theatrical re-release came with a new poster, which is almost identical to the original poster. The position of Gosling's left hand was changed to be perpendicular just like Stone's left hand. Gosling had previously said that he regrets the way his left hand is positioned in the original poster, which he dubbed La La Hand, and had recreated the poster during the marketing campaign for Project Hail Mary earlier that year in order to fix the pose. Lionsgate released La La Land on digital HD on April 11, 2017, and Blu-ray, Ultra HD Blu-ray and DVD on April 25, 2017. La La Land grossed $151.1 million in the United States and Canada, and $353.5 million in other territories, for a worldwide total of $504.6 million, against a production budget of $30 million. Deadline Hollywood calculated the net profit of the film to be $68.25 million, when factoring together all expenses and revenues for the film, making it one of the top 20 most profitable releases of 2016. This is Gosling's third highest grossing film, surpassed in 2023 by Barbie and in 2026 by Project Hail Mary. La La Land began its theatrical release with a limited release in 5 theaters in Los Angeles and New York City on December 9. It made $881,107 in its opening weekend, giving the film a per-theater average of $176,221, the best average of the year. In its second week of limited release, the film expanded to 200 theaters and grossed $4.1 million, finishing 7th at the box office. It was an increase of 366% from the previous week and good for a per-theater of $20,510. The following week, the film had its wide expansion to 734 theaters, grossing $5.8 million for the weekend, including $4 million on Christmas Day and $9.2 million over the 4 days, and finishing 8th at the box office. On January 6, 2017, the weekend of the Golden Globes, the film expanded to 1,515 theaters and grossed $10 million over the weekend, finishing 5th at the box office. In its 6th week of release, the film grossed $14.5 million, a total of $16.9 million over the 4-day weekend for Martin Luther King Jr. Day, finishing 2nd at the box office behind Hidden Figures. After receiving its 14 Oscar nominations, the film expanded to 3,136 theaters on January 27, 2017, an increase of 1,271 from the week before, and grossed $12.1 million, up 43% from its previous week's $8.4 million. During the weekend of February 24 to 26, the weekend of the Academy Awards, the film grossed $4.6 million, exactly the same amount it grossed the previous weekend. The next week, following its 6 Oscar wins, the film grossed $3 million. La La Land received widespread critical acclaim, with high praise directed towards Chazelle's direction and screenplay, cinematography, music, the performances of Gosling and Stone and their chemistry. The review aggregator Rotten Tomatoes gives the film an approval rating of 91% based on 469 reviews, with an average rating of 8.7/10. The website's critical consensus reads, La La Land breathes new life into a bygone genre with thrillingly assured direction, powerful performances, and an irresistible excess of heart. On Metacritic, the film has a weighted average score of 94 out of 100, based on 54 critics, indicating universal acclaim. It was the third and sixth highest scoring film released in 2016 on each respective site. Audiences polled by CinemaScore gave the film an average grade of A on an A+ to F scale, while post-track reported audiences gave an 81% overall positive score and a 93% definite recommend. Peter Travers of Rolling Stone gave La La Land 4 stars out of 4, describing it as a hot miracle and complimenting its musical numbers, particularly the opening scene. He went on to name it his favorite movie of the year. Michael Phillips of the Chicago Tribune similarly lauded the opening sequence, in addition to highlighting Stone's performance, stating she's reason enough to see La La Land. Despite being less enthusiastic about Gosling's dancing and the film's middle section, Phillips nevertheless gave the film 4 out of 4 stars, declaring it the year's most seriously pleasurable entertainment. A.O. Scott of the New York Times praised the film, stating that it succeeds both as a fantasy and a hard-headed fable, a romantic comedy and a showbiz melodrama, a work of sublime artifice and touching authenticity. Peter Bradshaw of The Guardian awarded the film 5 out of 5 stars, describing it as a sun-drenched musical masterpiece. Tom Charity of Sight and Sound stated, Chazelle has crafted that rare thing, a genuinely romantic comedy, and as well, a rhapsody in blue, red, yellow, and green. Writing. For the Boston Globe, Tiber summarized the effectiveness of the film to relate to audiences stating, the movie traffics in the bittersweet happiness of treasuring things that are vanishing, like the unrealized future imagined in the climactic dance number, or those inky, star-filled dance floors that go on forever in old movies, or Hollywood musicals themselves. Or jazz. Sebastian has an early moment at a nightclub where he passionately sticks up for the music he loves. It's dying on the vine, he says. And the world says let it die. It had its time. Well, not on my watch. In that scene, he speaks for the director. By the end of La La Land, he's speaking for all of us. Filmmakers Jonathan Demme, Jay Duplass, Paul Feig, Chad Hartigan, Chris Kelly, Daniel Kwan, Rebecca Miller, Reed Morano, Christopher Nolan, James Ponsoldt, and Nanfu Wang also praised the film. Some critics and commentators connected La La Land's award season competition with Moonlight, amid the political climate following Donald Trump's election, to broader debates about racial representation and white privilege in Hollywood. While accolades from audiences and critics grew, the film received backlash for what some considered a disproportional amount of praise. Saturday Night Live lampooned the fervor over the film with a sketch about a man arrested for thinking it was decent, but also boring. The film was criticized by some for its treatment of race and jazz. Kelly Lawler of USA Today noted that Gosling's character has been referred to as a white savior by some critics, for his quest, and eventual success, to save the traditionally black musical genre from extinction, seemingly the only person who can accomplish such a goal. The sentiment was also expressed by Ruby Lott-Lavigne of Wired, Anna Silman of New York, and Ira Madison III of MTV News. Rex Reed of the New York Observer also took aim at the film's intention to emulate the MGM musical classics, writing that the old-fashioned screenplay, by the ambitious writer-director Damien Chazelle, reeks of mothballs, and that the movie sags badly in the middle, like a worn-out mattress that needs new springs. The South China Morning Post remarked that aside from its racial treatment of jazz, much of the public criticism was towards the film being a little dull, the two leads singing and dancing being considered unexceptional, and the lack of nuance in Stone's character, with Gosling's occasionally seen as insufferable. Since its release, La La Land continues to receive acclaim. It is regarded as a modern classic and one of the best films of all time due to its captivating performances, attention to detail, and its ascent to previous movie musicals such as Singin' in the Rain. In 2019, CBC Radio included it on its list of the greatest romantic movies of all time. In 2021, Helena Trager of The Beacon called it the best film of the 2010s, stating that it is one of the most creative and well-executed films that every person should attempt to watch at least once. In 2022, Time Out ranked it number 79 on its list of the 100 best films of the 21st century, writing that it has a signature all of its own, stopping traffic in the first Gloria sequence. MovieWeb ranked the film number 2 on its list of the best movie musicals of the 21st century so far, in 2022 as well. In 2023, it ranked at number 3 on its list of the 15 greatest movies about jazz and number 1 on its list of the best modern movies shot on film. It also ranked number 2 on Teen Vogue's list of the 45 best dance movies of all time. The film ranked number 15 on Collider's list of the 30 best musicals of all time, with Jeremy Irkwer writing, "It works as a modern update/homage to classic Hollywood musicals that were popular in the 1950s without ever feeling derivative or mocking," and Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling in the lead roles both give great performances that are up there with the best of their respective careers. It also ranked number 8 on Parade's list of the 67 best movie musicals of all time, with Samuel R. Murrian writing that the film is many things, thusly its own creation, deftly blending a modern showbiz melodrama, a giddy throwback, a striking love story. Screen Rant also ranked it at number 10 on its list the 35 best musicals of all time and number 1 on its list of the 12 best movie musicals of the 21st century, while IndieWire ranked it at number 12 on its list of the 60 best movie musicals of all time. Wilson Chapman, curation editor for IndieWire, wrote that La La Land's story has just the right harmony of romance and melancholy, and that pieces such as Another Day of Sun and A Lovely Night are catchy and rememberable. He remarked that the Oscar-winning City of Stars, as well as others of Horowitz's scores, are some of the finest written for any movie this century. In 2024, Looper ranked it number 11 on its list of the 51 best PG-13 movies of all time, calling the film a deeply affecting feature thanks to a pair of great performances from Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling. Any movie like La La Land that gets toes tapping and tears flowing with such grace is worth remembering. In 2021, members of Writers Guild of America West, WGAW, and Writers Guild of America, East, WGAE, voted the film's screenplay 92nd in UGA's 101 Greatest Screenplays of the 21st Century, so far. In March 2025, The Washington Post ranked the film at number 13 on its list of the 25 best movie musicals of the 21st century, with Tiber writing the results are even closer to the touchstone of Jacques Demy's beloved 1964 Umbrellas of Cherbourg than the earlier film Guy and Madeline on a Park Bench, Love Lost, Found and Lost Again amid an evocation of a city's hidden soul. In June 2025, actors Simu Liu and Molly Ringwald cited the film as among their favorites of the 21st century. In July 2025, it ranked number 16 on the Reader's Choice edition of the New York Times list of the 100 best movies of the 21st century. Many elements of the film, including the visual style, use of colors, staging of the musical numbers and costume designs have been referenced numerous times in popular culture since its release. These include the entire opening segment of the 74th Golden Globe Awards, featuring parodies of Another Day of Sun, City of Stars and the planetarium sequence with host Jimmy Fallon, Nicole Kidman, Amy Adams, Sarah Paulson, Courtney B. Vance, Sterling K. Brown, Evan Rachel Wood, Rami Malek, and Kit Harington participating, an independently produced short film parody set in New York City titled New York Land, a sketch on season 42 of Saturday Night Live where host Aziz Ansari plays a character who is interrogated over calling the film overrated because of its Oscar nominations, and a television commercial for the prescription Jardiance. The 2018 single Love Scenario by Icon drew heavy inspiration from the film's epilogue sequence. The 2021 Disney animated short film, Us Again, was also said to have been influenced by the film. In the closing of The Simpsons episode Ha Ha Land, it is stated that the episode was supposed to be a parody of Moonlight rather than La La Land, itself parodying the mistake at the 89th Academy Awards. La La Land received 11 nominations at the 70th British Academy Film Awards, more than any other film of 2016. The film won in the categories of Best Film, Best Director, Best Actress in a Leading Role, 4 Stone, Best Cinematography and Best Film Music. At the 74th Golden Globe Awards, La La Land received a leading 7 nominations. The film won in all 7 categories for which it was nominated, setting a record for the most Golden Globes won by a single film, namely Best Motion Picture, Musical or Comedy, Best Director, Best Actor, Comedy or Musical, for Gosling, Best Actress, Comedy or Musical, for Stone, Best Screenplay, Best Original Score, and Best Original Song, City of Stars, breaking the record One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest set for the most wins. At the 89th Academy Awards, La La Land received a leading 6 awards, namely Best Director, Best Actress, for Stone, Best Cinematography, Best Original Score, Best Original Song, City of Stars, and Best Production Design. The film received a total of 14 nominations, tying the record for most nominations by a single film with All About Eve, 1950, and Titanic, 1997. Its other nominations were Best Picture, Best Actor, for Gosling, Best Original Screenplay, Best Film Editing, Best Costume Design, a second nomination for Best Original Song, Audition, The Fools Who Dream, Best Sound Editing, and Best Sound Mixing. During the Oscars ceremony, presenter Faye Dunaway incorrectly announced that La La Land had won Best Picture, reading from the card Warren Beatty opened, which was actually a duplicate of the Best Actress card for Emma Stone. After the cast and crew of La La Land took the stage, it took the show's producers more than 2 minutes, during which nearly 3 speeches were made, to fix the mistake. The actual winner was Moonlight. In March 2017, La La Land was at the center of a prank involving Golden Kamera, an annual German film and television award. German comedians Joko Winterscheid and Klaus Huferumlauf arranged for a Ryan Gosling impersonator to be awarded the Best International Film Prize for La La Land. Following the event, a speaker for television broadcaster ZDF asked for the trophy to be given back, stating that La La Land had won the prize and that the trophy would be given to the real Ryan Gosling. The incident, which became known as Goslingate, sparked criticism of the event's concept. Media critics argued that the Best International Film Award had only been created in an effort to get Ryan Gosling on the show, with no regards for the film's quality. The incident played a major role in the cancellation of the Golden Kamera in 2019. In 2018, Winterscheid and Huferumlauf were awarded the Grammy Award for their media criticism. On February 7, 2023, it was announced that the film would be adapted into a Broadway musical by Platt and Lionsgate. Horowitz, Pasek, and Paul will return to write additional songs for the show. Bartlett Sher will direct from a book by Ayad Akhtar and Matthew Decker. A theatrical spin-off, So Long Boulder City, was created in 2017 by comedians Jimmy Fowley and Jordan Black. The show was a full-length parody of Mia Dolan's one-woman show from the movie, and featured Fowley in drag as Mia. So Long Boulder City debuted in Los Angeles before enjoying a run at the Subculture Off-Broadway Theater in New York City. I bet this is a review you never thought you'd see from me, and I'd be lying if I said I was looking forward to watching it. Personally, I despise musicals and think watching one should be punishment for shoplifting, but after reading all the rave reviews La La Land had been getting, I figured it was time to bite the bullet and check it out. Imagine my surprise when it ends up being charmingly romantic and, for the most part, worthy of the hype. Normally when I hear critics saying how great a movie is, I'm expecting an incredibly boring film dealing with a social issue or disease of the week. La La Land is that rare beast, however, that is surprisingly never dull and didn't even have that many songs. It was really more of a romantic drama with our 2 likable leads trying to chase their dreams while falling in love with each other. It's in parts wistful and then in other parts heartbreaking, and I'm still not sure how I feel about that ending. I know it was more realistic, but it doesn't mean I have to like it. I definitely preferred the first half of the movie as Sebastian, Gosling, and Mia, Stone, meet each other and slowly fall for each other. The first inkling that this movie was something a little different was the fact that Sebastian wasn't particularly charming and in fact, a bit of dick, like real guys are. Despite that though, you immediately take to Sebastian and Mia as they struggle to get by while chasing their dreams. Can their love survive their careers? La La Land homages the Fred and Ginger movies of old with its energetic dance numbers, but turns it on its head and makes you think that maybe this couple won't live happily ever after with each other if they have to give up on their dreams. What surprised me most about the film was its sense of humor. Gosling has a real knack for comedy, and the movie lovingly pokes fun at the genre while making you pine for the golden age of Hollywood. It's quite cynical too, with Mia's awkward auditions feeling all too real and must be something any actor can relate to. Both leads are fantastic in this movie, but I think it's unfair that Emma Stone appears to be getting all the accolades as Gosling is superb as well. Most importantly, La La Land also has fantastic music with one of catchiest main themes I've heard in a long time. Even the songs are good, which was a surprise. Overall, La La Land is far better than I was expecting, and even someone who hates musicals will find something to enjoy. It's funny, moving and heartbreaking all at once. The ending may not be everyone's cup of tea as it's quite downbeat, but it is more realistic and the cast are at their absolute best. Every year it happens and I never know when. I'll be watching a movie in a theater and it suddenly hits me that I am watching the best movie of the year. I know, it sounds like hyperbole and it's such a subjective thing, but I don't know any other way to explain it. This is how it happens for me, and that's how I felt when I first watched La La Land a couple of months ago. The romantic musical dramedy, written and directed by Damien Chazelle, Whiplash, swept me up and pulled me in with its irresistible songs, impressive visuals, and relatable story about two self-absorbed fools who dream. I was transfixed by the movie's ambition and whelmed by its sheer joy, which says volumes for someone who's generally not a huge advocate for musicals, and also says something about how undeniably effective the two leads are here. I believe that anyone can feel as I do about La La Land, from start to finish. Chazelle's story follows two struggling Los Angeles artists for 1 year, as they meet, circle around each other and fall in love. Mia, Emma Stone, is an actress aspiring to mark it big in Hollywood, going on countless auditions while working as a barista on a studio lot. Sebastian, Ryan Gosling, is a jazz pianist who dreams of opening up his own place that would keep the purity of jazz alive, yet is struggling to play his own music somewhere. The two meet in a fit of road rage, and as months pass they can never seem to not bump into each other. An attraction develops between these stubborn dreamers as they bond over chasing their passions, despite being shot down and just about every opportunity. Their growing relationship is fueled by love, as each supports the other in the efforts they pursue as they each take a shot at success. When their pursuits elicit mixed results, Mia and Sebastian are forced to determine whether or not their romance still has the magic it has provided. La La Land is an homage and celebration of those old Hollywood musicals that no longer get made anymore, the kind that ooze earnestness and romance, starring the likes of Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers, except that Chappelle deliberately steers clear of all the boxes one would check to sync such a film with the conventions those movies are known for. Sure, there's a girl meets boy story here, but this is a movie that resembles the real world more than any idealized fantasies often found in those old musicals. That may be hard to believe considering the magnificent use of color and light and the sweeping camera work from cinematographer Linus Sandgren, Joy, but La La Land is far from the happily ever after storytelling we've come to expect from the 1950s nostalgia it pays tribute to. Although Chazelle is clearly drawing from the vibrant works of Vincent Minnelli and Jacques Demy, there's also a struggle and an environment that feels genuine and real, albeit stylized and artful, that grounds the story and themes into something relatable. Chazelle sets the mood during the opening titles, with a Summit Entertainment logo that feels like something straight out of the 50s, and even adding the CinemaScope production to the screen. That quickly follows with a smashing opening number set in the quagmire of a Los Angeles traffic jam on a ramp overlooking other lanes and the city spread out along the horizon. Drivers and passengers get out of their parked cars and break out into song, Another Day of Sun, dancing and jumping on and around cars, jubilantly shaking off the irritability of a typical LA morning commute. It's an opening that immediately catches our attention, and it's this highway where Mia and Sebastian first meet, although they don't talk until much later. We catch up with Mia as she comes home to the apartment she shares with 3 actor girlfriends, feeling dejected after enduring some painful auditions, but her roommates convince her to go out on the town with them, which finds all 4 of them breaking out into song, "Someone in the Crowd," to reassure a reluctant Mia that she'll never know who she'll meet if she doesn't get out there. If those 2 numbers alone don't impress anyone who generally scoffs at musicals, then I can't help you. There is a humor and lightness to the tone and fluid pacing of La La Land, and it's what you'd normally expect from something that's whimsical or obvious, but instead there's a genuine endearing quality to the movie that's genuine and refreshing. It can be seen each time Mia and Sebastian circle each other during their random meet-cute encounters around Los Angeles throughout the year. In any other movie, those moments would come across as cutesy, but there's the reality of being frustrated or drained by continuously pursuing your dreams here that make the characters and their situations relatable. Chazelle has written such a storyline, one that subverts expectations and injects it with the dialogue that feels real amid the kind of snappy banter that harkens back to those classic musicals. Yes, this is a musical, but don't be alarmed if you generally say you're not into them. It's important to acknowledge that in musicals such as La La Land, which is not an adaptation from a Broadway production or a remake of a musical that's come before it, and the score by Horowitz, as well as the lyrics to the infectious songs written by Benj Pasek and Justin Paul, known as Pasek and Paul, except for one by John Legend, the rousing Start a Fire, who also has a fun supporting role, are all original works. So, even for those who are ignorant to Hollywood musicals or instinctively roll their eyes at the thought of one, I used to be both, the fact that there is original music here should earn the film even some respect before and after seeing it. Not to mention that Gosling spent months learning how to play the piano and Stone has a great, emotive voice. To think Miles Teller and Emma Watson were originally slated to star, La La Land reiterates what a fantastic pairing these 2 make. The songs where Mia and Sebastian are singing or dancing together are great and add to the development of their relationship while showcasing some key LA landmarks like the Colorado Street Bridge, Watts Tower, and Angel's Flight, but what's most surprising is that none of the songs are duds. A Lovely Night is a song the duo first sing together after they leave a party in the Hollywood Hills, and the way they nonchalantly begin and end the song is charming and clever. And then there's City of Stars, which shows up a couple of times, first with Gosling Sebastian singing, and then, once he and Stone's Mia are well into their relationship, we see both of them singing it while sitting at his piano. Each version takes on a different life for where the characters are at. For Mia's final audition, her last attempt after giving up on the debilitating process, we hear the film's most emotional and vulnerable song, Audition, The Fools Who Dream, that solidifies all the worthy awards talk Stone has been receiving since La La Land worked the festival circuit this fall. All of their songs together contribute an undeniably deep connection to Mia and Sebastian that invites viewers to experience a much more active component in the storytelling. With La La Land, Chazelle has now revolved his 3 features around jazz, something I gladly welcome, which obviously holds a special place for the filmmaker and Horowitz. While there's pressure to perform the desires from within for all to see, La La Land is thankfully far removed from the physical and psychological demands Miles Teller's character experienced in Whiplash. The message here is that jazz is dying. Sure, that's a declaration that's been around for a while, but here, through a couple of conversations Sebastian has to Mia about jazz, it feels like the Gosling's character is Chazelle's avatar, and we understand what so many artists realize, that sometimes compromise, at least for a little while, is needed in order to get a specific career path goal. This can be applied to the journey that both characters find themselves on, and it will hit home for many struggling artists. I've seen some complaints that there's not much to the characters or the story in La La Land, something I strongly disagree with since I feel that La La Land works on every level, but the film truly rests on the strength of its 2 leads. Their connection here is convincing and instrumental to the film's success. I've always liked Gosling and Stone, individually and together, for some time, and yet I'm quite aware of the bemoaning they've received from moviegoers. I can't understand it, but to that I say there are other performers out there to bemoan. These two are really great here, and they're supported by the likes of John Legend and some small but memorable roles from Rosemary DeWitt, Tom Everett Scott and J.K. Simmons, who reunites with Chazelle after his Whiplash Oscar win. Here is a musical, a movie, that lives up to all its hype and is well worth repeated visits. There is a narrative here that touches on the hope and sadness that comes with chasing your dreams, and the closing sequence is just as memorable as the opening sequence, while packing a more thought-provoking punch. We are in a climate of social and political uncertainty, and here is a movie that can remove us from all that and remind us of the necessary escape and sublime magic of the movies. We all fall in love, and here is a movie we can fall in love with. It literally took me 5 years after it came out for me to watch La La Land. I knew all about it and had seen clips, particularly the one scene in which Stone and Gosling dance on the mountain above Los Angeles, but I just wasn't interested in what I had heard about the movie. This is odd because I love what both of the characters do, I love jazz and its history, but, at the same time, I have this deep dream of actually becoming an actress myself. What ended up getting me to watch this was an ongoing obsession with Emma Stone. I've been watching all of her movies lately, It's a Problem, and the fact that I like Damien Chazelle as a director. You have no idea how excited I am for his upcoming release Babylon to come out. The 1920s is one of my all-time favorite decades in history. Although I haven't seen much of Chazelle's work, I know a weird amount of information about him. Enough with rambling onwards with the review. La La Land is a very particular kind of film, one that you'd easily expect from Hollywood because Los Angeles itself actually plays some sort of a dreamy character. Take the image that I used above for this review. While for aesthetic reasons the skyline is quite pretty to have our main characters dancing in front of, at the same time it's giving that feeling that the world is watching these two perform. The lights of the city juxtaposed with the sunset seem to make it so that these two, who are well lit in the impending darkness, are the only ones left in this destitute land. It's kind of romantic. Our female lead is Mia Dolan, a girl from Nevada just trying to make it as an actor in Los Angeles. She works as a barista on the lot for where films and televisions are filmed, and she keeps going to one failed audition after another. After her roommates decide that she needs to take a break and go to a luxurious party, she meets our male lead after her car is towed. He's a jazz pianist who has just been fired from his job right then and there because he refuses to play Christmas music. Amused, Mia compliments him as he storms off into the distance, but as fate has it, months later they meet again and click instantly. Sparks fly, and suddenly these two just can't get enough of each other. We get beautiful shots of the pier, it's a famous one, but I'm not too sure of which one it is, Santa Monica, and them going on cute little dates and whatnot, but then the issue of creativity thrusts itself into the picture. You see, our male lead, Sebastian, decides to give up his dream of being a jazz pianist in order to make money. He's working with a band and doing pop-style music, which Mia knows isn't him. In the meantime, she's been writing a one-act play, and when the time comes to actually perform it in front of an audience, Sebastian doesn't show up. If Gone Girl didn't teach us anything about whirlwind romances, you need to get out once it goes south. And so that's what Mia does. One of my key takeaways on the theme of this movie is to enjoy the happy moments you have with another. There wasn't a lot of happiness at the end of their relationship, but, at the end of the day, when they parted ways and managed to build careers that they're both happy with, the two of them can still share a proud smile for one another when passing by. It reminds of the tenderness of Patti Smith's and Robert Mapplethorpe's relationship. That when they broke up, they treated each other with such kindness and respect. Then she went ahead and wrote her memoir Just Kids to preserve his memory despite the breakup. I absolutely gush about that memoir and their relationship because it mirrors what we see in La La Land. Something that seems so perfect, romantic, and out of a film at first can become something beautiful once they parted ways. But they'll always have the memories that were the essence of the relationship. The one thing that honestly took me by surprise from the very beginning is that La La Land is a musical. And, to be upfront, I could have been easily entertained if it wasn't a musical by the script alone, but the fact that it's a musical knocks it down a few pegs for me. The songs do add depth and meaning to the movie, but, at the end of the day, I just found them too distracting and didn't care for them too much. That's what ended up frustrating me the most. The visuals are stunning, the costumes very on point. But I couldn't stand the songs at the end of the day, they were too much. I see what the director was trying to evoke, especially with the 1960s film and old Hollywood influence that this movie is dripping in, but I just couldn't get on board with it. I think it's also because I hated both of Stone's and Gosling's singing. You're going to be on one of three spectrums for this movie: you absolutely love it and think it's your favorite movie ever, you think it's a decent movie, or you hate it because you're not into this genre of film or the story it tries to tell. I fall into the category of it's a decent movie. It's got amazing cinematography, but the story feels like something that I personally wouldn't care for and would thus seek out as entertainment. The fact that it depicts love as something imperfect and very flawed is interesting to me because clearly these two have a lot of love for each other. Their craft merely came first and it was a case of missed opportunity and wrong time to be together. The songs are too gritting for me and I also didn't care for the male lead. I was more invested in Mia's story and would totally watch a spin-off of her trying to make it in Hollywood. It is about a musician and an aspiring actress who meet and fall in love in Los Angeles. The plot is good, if cliched at some points. It is a very interesting movie, I have to say. Some parts felt incredibly uninspired and basic, but others felt very original. That imaginary ending certainly was authentic and one of the most authentic and overall best scenes of any 2016 film. Rarely have I seen something quite like this sequence. But the fact that she all of a sudden was discovered and became this hugely popular actress felt laughably unrealistic. And I did laugh at that development, honestly. But overall the film is good and well plotted. I especially liked its first half. I actually loved its first half as it was pretty charming and romantic and flowed smoothly. But the second half is problematic a bit with a couple of very unfortunate character as well as plot choices. Let's talk about the characters. I guess of the supporting characters only Keith was remotely memorable as the movie mostly focuses on the main two characters, which was fine. Keith was quite sympathetic and John Legend did a good job in the role. Sebastian is very likable. I didn't connect with him as I honestly dislike jazz, so I did not understand his passion for it, but other than that, he was a very likable, sometimes quite endearing man. The choice to have him be so sympathetic ultimately hurt the movie as Mia is anything but. Wow, I did not see this coming. She is such a bad, absolutely horrible human being that I honestly am baffled at the majority of audiences and critics and how they missed that. I guess I am not as puzzled by it because the filmmakers made her as sympathetic as possible, but it was all just a facade. Rarely have I seen a more irredeemable protagonist in a movie. What she did to Sebastian was horrible, and when you think about it thoroughly, she basically ruined his life. She only thought about herself and her needs, and she manipulated him and ruined his dream of becoming a star. That isn't the problem here, as there are bad people in this world and they need to be portrayed on the screen. The problem is that they presented her to be more of a victim than him and basically took her side. That was just appalling to witness and made the movie unlikable and sexist. Again, they masqueraded it well, but for anyone smart enough to figure it out on his/her own, the film is sexist, and I honestly think that straight men should be offended by it a bit. But I still liked that in a way, as it led to a commentary on how careers are nowadays more important than personal relationships, and that was on point. The acting is great. Emma Stone is great in a difficult role. And even though I thoroughly disliked her character, I admired her performance, which was excellent and at times even truly great. She deserved all of the accolades for it, and it should prove to be a career-defining role for her. As for Ryan Gosling, he isn't as great, but he was still very good and he sold his more emotional scenes as well. He not only was very likable here, but also gave a worthy performance. La La Land is a musical, so let me touch upon its songs. Overall, I found the choreography to be frequently quite weak and the singing is actually rather mediocre at times. The same goes for the dancing. If you want realism, this is great for you. But I want professionalism, so it wasn't as thrilling to me personally. Plus the various homages to the 1950s classic musicals felt more like uninspired and overly nostalgic rip-offs than respectable homages. But some of those homages were sweet and some choreography was great. The film is a visual feast for the eyes, which is why it should be seen on the big screen, which I did twice myself. I really liked some songs, but I really disliked a couple of them too. And again, my dislike for jazz hurt the chances of me liking the soundtrack more. I do not understand the hype and the accolades for City of Stars and Audition, as these two are by far the weakest numbers here. I really dislike them as they are bland, forgettable, and utterly dull. So overrated. City of Stars is badly choreographed and Audition is kind of a detour and it slows the movie down significantly. But it does have nice and moving lyrics for sure. I like Start a Fire quite a bit, very catchy. But my favorites are definitely Another Day of Sun and Someone in the Crowd. The first one is quite a special scene to open the movie and very interesting, and the song itself is catchy, breezy, and a lot of fun. But Someone in the Crowd was awesome. I liked it a lot as it was not only catchy, but was an all-around charming scene, and the tune here is very memorable and very entertaining. To me, La La Land succeeds more as a romance than as a musical, as half of the songs are weak. I guess the third act destroyed their romance, but watching it start and blossom was pleasant, and the film is surprisingly romantic. It is actually one of the most romantic films of the decade. But because this relationship is so toxic and just plain unhealthy, it hurt it in the long run, and it sometimes made it seem more of a nightmare and a tragedy instead of a truly feel-good and touching romance. But it still felt tragic and heartbreaking in its ending, which is why the film is going to become a romance classic in the future. The direction from Damien Chazelle isn't the greatest, and I think his Whiplash is better than La La Land. And let's talk about the other technical aspects, most of which troublesome. The costumes are pretty great and the score is naturally good, but the editing is awful, as the film's second act felt a bit prolonged and honestly quite boring in some spots. But to me, the cinematography is the worst aspect of it. It was just so mediocre at times that I was baffled at how Linus Sundgren managed to get nominations for his work here. Some shots were fine, but some were just weak and so poorly conceived that they hurt their scenes, which needed better and more inspired shots. But some scenes, such as the planetarium one, were just beautiful to witness, and the film is a visual marvel at times. In the end, I realize that this film is a crowd pleaser and it does leave you in a great mood, which is why I understand its appeal, and it is a very good movie overall, but it is so troublesome in so many areas that it is never a masterpiece that it was proclaimed to be. Rarely did I respond so strongly to a film's tagline. In fact, I mostly barely notice them. Here's to the fools who dream. Well, La La Land's tagline speaks to me in a profound way, as essentially, I am one of those fools. Unabashedly. Emma Stone plays Mia, an aspiring actress who works at Warner Brothers lot, serving lats to movie stars with googly eyes. Any free time she gets, she spends it on auditions. And like many other aspiring actresses like her, she gets constant rejections and is treated like dirt by casting directors. Meanwhile, there's Ryan Gosling's Sebastian, a jazz musician who scrapes by playing gigs at dingy bars and Hollywood pool parties. Whilst Mia dreams of movie star greatness, Sebastian dreams of opening his own jazz club that celebrates the kind of jazz music he thinks is a dying music genre. These fools meet serendipitously, during a rousing opening number that harkens back to classic musicals, where the actors burst into song and start singing and dancing in the midst of LA's traffic jam. With a title like La La Land, this musical dramedy is unabashedly dreamy and stylish. It's hard not to smile during these energetic musical numbers, though I have to admit at times my mind did wander off and my heart craved for something meaty to hold onto. Well, Damien Chazelle did give us some moments with deep emotional resonance, but it's not necessarily from the romance. Despite the dreaminess of the Mia/Sebastian love story, I think the musical numbers actually take place of the emotional weight. I just didn't quite feel the oomph of their romance, that intense longing to be together a la Romeo and Juliet or Titanic's Jack and Rose. I just realized these two stars Leo DiCaprio, I guess the guy can really sell romance. In any case, the moment that truly got me is the audition scene where Mia sang Fools Who Dream. I will definitely do a music break of this film, though the only song I remember most is this one. I was practically sobbing watching that scene, and Emma Stone deserves all the kudos for her performance just on this scene alone. Perhaps because she identified so well with Mia's journey, having moved to LA at 15 to pursue acting, her emotion in the film feels authentic. As for Gosling, I think many of my blog regulars know I'm not fond of the guy. This film doesn't exactly change my mind about him. I do think he's good, though not nearly as strong as Stone as his co-star. I just think Gosling's face isn't the least bit expressive and devoid of emotion, and so to this day I still don't get what the fuss is about him. This is the third time Emma/Ryan are paired together as lovers, and I suppose they do have chemistry, though not quite the Bogey/Bacall variety. The movie consists of pretty much the two of them from start to finish. J.K. Simmons and singer John Legend both had small roles that are basically cameos. The talented Rosemary DeWitt is grossly underused as well as Sebastian's sister. Some critics point out the lack of black characters in the movie, which as a non-white person I think it's not always fair to expect every race is represented in every film. The critics went wild for this movie, and I agree with some who think this film is way overrated. I've had people ask me what I think of it, as I have the poster hanging outside my cubicle at work. I'd say it's a frothy romance with a moving story about chasing your dreams. Emotionally speaking, it's not exactly profound and it doesn't quite reach the poignancy of Moonlight, but there are plenty of things Chazelle did here that deserve praise. It's stylish and beautifully shot, with a dreamlike quality to it that sweeps you off your feet. The music by Justin Hurwitz is certainly one of the strongest aspects of the film, one I'd remember for years to come. Some sequences, especially that opening number, are truly lovely. I also love the creative use of props for locations such as Paris, which enhances the fantastical nature of the story. It's also nice to see such a gorgeous film that is not just styled over substance. The film is set in present-day Los Angeles and depicts each main character struggling to make it big in a city that is infamous for crushing dreams. Gosling plays a jazz pianist named Sebastian who is struggling to make ends meet in a dying medium, while Emma Stone plays an actress named Mia who is having problems landing roles and feeling valued in a cutthroat industry. Their paths intertwine as they attempt to follow their dreams while still staying true to themselves and their core values. Gosling and Stone have already made their marks in previous films as a very infectious on-screen couple with palpable chemistry. My favorite dual performance of theirs was in Crazy, Stupid, Love. The film really played to their strengths, allowing for Gosling to be the suave man that he is while also giving Stone room to show her quirky sense of humor. They just have a certain connection about them in film that just makes you smile. They play super well off each other and come off as a genuine couple. With such a history together, one could only expect them to bring another great performance to La La Land. However, I was intrigued to see how they perform in a musical. It adds another layer to their on-screen relationship. The director of La La Land, Damien Chazelle, is a fascinating person as well. You may know him for directing one of the best movies of 2014 in Whiplash. The man is only 31 years old and he's already more accomplished in Hollywood than most, with multiple award nominations to his credit already. He obviously has a love for music, with Whiplash surrounding Miles Teller as a drummer and La La Land being a musical. His love for music is a refreshing change from many movies these days. I'm very happy to report that after seeing La La Land, I can confidently say that it is worthy of all the praise and may also be one of the best movies of the year. Damien Chazelle is my current front-runner for the Best Director Oscar. Not only is every musical number expertly choreographed, but the story is also told cleverly. He employs very long takes in both scenes of dialogue and singing, which makes for some very well-crafted moments. Each one allows you to take in all the beauty of Los Angeles. Gosling and Stone are both at the top of their games. They bring the typical fun and whimsical nature that we have grown accustomed to while showing some serious singing chops along the way. They will both absolutely be nominated for Best Actor and Actress. La La Land does not work without two great lead performances. I really enjoyed how passionate both their characters were about their crafts. You really got the sense that both Gosling and Stone were starving artists. They act as each other's rock, continuously telling each other to pursue their dreams despite what others may say. The writing of La La Land, also done by Damien Chazelle, is very solid and tight. Many musicals rely on catchy tunes to distract audiences from a lackluster plot. However, the script of La La Land is very nuanced and contains many great themes. Not only did I enjoy La La Land's emphasis on pursuing one's dreams and the difficulties that come with them, but it also has a lot to say about Los Angeles and Hollywood as a whole. At one point you may feel that La La Land is converging on a very cliched ending with very played out character arcs. However, the movie takes a refreshing left turn that leads to a very satisfying ending. I would be amiss if I did not discuss the musical numbers themselves. As I write this La La Land review, I'm still humming moments of songs. The tunes are very catchy and have really sweet messages underlying them. Chazelle has some really neat fantastical elements that he uses in some of the songs that create a lovely whimsical tone to the movie. The main theme of the movie is a lock to be nominated for Best Original Song. Musicals made me a romantic. They taught me that some emotion is so powerful that it can't be put into mere words, it must be sung. Some love is so overwhelming that you just have to move your feet. With a family that loved classic films, I remember being awed by Gene Kelly and Fred Astaire, thinking they were as cool as anyone in movie history. Characters in musicals not only understood love differently than those in traditional films, but they turned that understanding into art, dancing, singing, and transcending mere dialogue to become something greater, something purer, something closer to true romance. We've had some musicals since the era of Rodgers and Astaire, but few that have tried to recapture that sense of fluid, magical thinking in which characters communicate with their bodies as much, maybe even more, than they do with their voices. One of many remarkable things about Damien Chazelle's La La Land is how much energy and time it devotes to movement and music, not just lyrics. The modern movie musicals, so often based on Broadway shows, have focused heavily on songs that further plot. In Chazelle's vision, choreography matters, and a simple piano refrain can have more power than a lyric. This is a beautiful film about love and dreams, and how the two impact each other. Los Angeles is filled with dreamers, and sometimes it takes a partner to make your dream come true. La La Land opens with a bit of a fake out in that it's a large ensemble number of a variety that we won't really see again in the movie. Cars are stuck in the notoriously awful LA traffic when the drivers decide to break into song called Another Day of Sun, a bit about how each day brings new hope for these young wannabe artists jumping out of the cars and dancing on the freeway. Instantly, Chazelle's direction and the dance choreography feels different. Here, and throughout the film, he works in long, unbroken takes. You can not only see the dance moves, but you can see the dancer's entire body when he or she performs them. And after the chorus-like introduction to a city of dreamers, we meet two such sun gazers, pianist Sebastian, Ryan Gosling, and actress Emma Stone. Like any good musical, the two have a few false starts and playfully mock each other's flaws in their first scenes. But we know where this is headed, and Gosling and Stone have the chemistry to make us long for them to get together. The first major centerpiece scene is a long walk between Sebastian and Mia as the sun is setting over the Hollywood hills. They start to see similarities in one another. Mia is tired of going on worthless auditions, ones in which the producer doesn't even look up from their phone. Sebastian holds on to an ideal version of jazz, wanting to open his own club instead of selling out and playing greatest hits for tourists. And Sebastian and Mia have a clear, instant attraction. So, even as they sing about how they're not really a couple, and how this gorgeous night is wasted because they're not with their true partners. Their bodies tell another story with a fantastically choreographed dance number. Stone and Gosling aren't natural singers or dancers, but they bring so much character and commitment to every movement that it doesn't matter. They're fluid, engaged and mesmerizing. We watch them fall in love through dance. Of course, it helps that Gosling and Stone have the kind of star power that made so many of those classic era musicals memorable. He's smooth and charismatic, she's clever and beautiful. The phrase has lost most of its meaning, but these are movie stars. And, of course, they're more than capable when La La Land demands greater depth, finding characters so rich that the movie would work without the music. It's a story of artistic passion, and how easy it is to get derailed from your dream. Sometimes it takes another person to push you back onto the tracks to find it again. Gosling and Stone get these characters, finding grace in their movement but emotional depth in their arcs. Stone has never been better. La La Land also exists as a very conscious ode to the allure of classic Hollywood. The pair goes to see Rebel without a cause, ending in one of the most magical scenes in years, and films like Casablanca and Bringing Up Baby are name-dropped. We have seen dozens of films that try to capture the allure of Hollywood, often with the cynical viewpoint that it will chew you up and spit you out, but Chazelle's vision feels unique. It pays homage to musicals like Singin' in the Rain and Jacques Demise' The Umbrellas of Cherbourg without ever directly mimicking them. It's easy to let the world get you down sometimes, especially in a year like this one. It's easy to think that dreams don't come true, and that love only exists in movies. La La Land serves to remind us that movies can still be magical, and they can still provide the channel for us to see magic in the world around us. It's not so much another day in the sun, as the characters sing in that opening number, but the dreams of the night before, the ones we wake up and try to fulfill, that keep us dancing. This is by far the best film I have ever seen in recent years, with it ranking number 2 before Goodfellas in my top 50 of all time. Ever since the first, incredibly vibrant La La Land teaser was released, I have been looking forward to seeing it. Although, at some point I did think, is this Oscar bait? But I can fully assure you, it certainly is not. La La Land, to put it simply, is a masterpiece. I will however start by saying, if you enjoyed Whiplash, you will adore La La Land. It isn't as intense as Whiplash, but it follows a similar structure with certain events that occur in the film. And that is not a bad thing at all. The tagline for this film was "Here's to the fools who dream." And those words spoke to me. It made me think, we may all be dreamers and we may not get anywhere, but we can still work towards things and be imaginative and creative in our own ways. The performances in this film are incredible. Ryan Gosling's portrayal of Sebastian, a passionate jazz enthusiast and pianist, is deeply moving, and gorgeous. A man of many talents, and when he plays that piano, you can't help but admire the time and commitment he put into creating such a wonderful, music-loving character. Emma Stone plays Mia, an aspiring actress, loved up with 60s Hollywood, walking out on dates and dancing. Stone gives a very strong performance, and in some instances had my jaw wide open. The undeniable scintillating chemistry between Stone and Gosling is outstanding, and definitely a duo performance overall to remember. The scene where they do a lovely night is by far one of the best choreographed dance scene I have ever seen since Singin' in the Rain, or any film for that matter. It made me cry just by how fantastic it was and how beautiful it was crafted. Damien Chazelle's burning passion for jazz has never faded, which I love, and the music in this is probably the best soundtrack for a film I've ever heard personally. Justin Hurwitz returns alongside Chazelle as he composed the score for Whiplash, and he absolutely nailed it. Some songs I don't think I will ever forget. There is one scene that takes place on a highway involving music, and I don't think I've ever seen something as stunning, so outrageously daring in a film ever. And that scene is a tracking shot. Chazelle pulled it off excellently, which led to a brilliant sequence. The End by Justin Hurwitz had me in tears as its beautiful crescendo echoed through my ears and found its way to my heart, like the entire film ended up doing. Also, Planetarium is gorgeously composed, and a deeply moving, euphoric addition to the long line of incredible original songs used in the movie. Both Stone and Gosling get their share of the limelight, as Gosling performs the award-winning song City of Stars, which to me, is a very good song, but personally Emma Stone's audition, The Fools Who Dream, takes the cake for me and should be nominated instead of City of Stars. Both songs are amazing in their own way, but Stone's emotive, fantastically moving audition is a classic, and will always be the song I remember most from this film, from the lyrics, to the music, to the intensity and heartbreak in Stone's vocals. It's just spectacular in every sense of the word. The cinematography is exquisite. Linus Sandgren uses a certain shot in a scene taking place in a planetarium, accompanied by the score, which made my jaw drop and cry at how stunning it was. A lot of wide shots were used, but I liked that as it showed the entirety of where the characters are. The tracking shot at the highway was simply incredible, and something very, very hard to do, and it was an absolutely unforgettable scene. Damien Chazelle has created a thought-provoking, sun-drenched, poignant, effervescent, euphoric cinematic experience which will never be forgotten for audiences to come. It's heartbreaking, and effortlessly beautiful. I don't think any movie, ever, has made me feel things in the way that La La Land did. Actually, I don't know that I've ever had a real-life experience that's done what La La Land has to me, which is, frankly, astonishing. It's rare that I see a movie that, in retrospect, makes every other movie I've seen seem just a tiny bit worse. But La La Land is one of those films. It's a film brimming with life and energy unlike anything I've ever seen. Watching the film unfold before my eyes, it was an experience. One that I will likely never be able to replicate, but I will desperately try to whenever I can. It's akin to coming out of a concert, and desperately listening to music by that band for weeks after, hoping to capture even a shred of the emotions felt in the moment. La La Land is a film that is successful on almost every axis, and it really had to sell what it's doing. This applies especially to the performs, and, surprising no one, both Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling were outstanding. The duo share an incredible chemistry from their first, speechless, interaction with one another. For a film that is ostensibly a musical, La La Land often relies on quieter moments, free of dialogue or singing. Fortunately, the two leads are adept at handling such roles. Their control over their bodies and facial expressions is even more impressive than their ability to deliver their lines. The wide range of performance types in this movie really hammers home just how incredibly talented Stone and Gosling are. They go from conversing to singing and dancing as if it's nothing, and the bombastic, often over-the-top musical numbers are a pleasure to watch. The choreography and cinematography are both excellent, capturing the vibrant emotions conveyed by the slightest movements of the performers. And to be perfectly clear, I'm not a huge fan of musical numbers in films. I generally find them distracting and immersion-breaking, but here, they were a treat. Whenever one began, I found myself becoming giddy with excitement. My enjoyment of them here stems partially from them being an important element of the film. It is, after all, about an actress and a pianist. It's kind of what they do, and expressing themselves to one another, through their art, is more powerful than any scrap of dialogue could have been. That being said, I likely could be convinced otherwise, considering the quality of La La Land's script. It's compacted to the point where every uttered word feels absolutely necessary. It never gets bogged down in explaining things or over long conversations padded out to add to the runtime. No, this is a film in which very little actually feels scripted. It's a story about two humans, and those characters act, speak, and dream like real people. And it's this element of the film that explains my emotional reaction to it. I was so engrossed in the story of Mia and Sebastian that it became easy to forget that what I was watching wasn't real. Yeah, that's something that gets tossed around a lot, and I'm certainly guilty of it. What can I say? I'm often prone to hyperbole. But when I apply that phrase to La La Land, trust me when I say that there is no hyperbole there at all. It isn't just the characters that this applies to, it's the setting as well. While the film takes place in modern-day Los Angeles, it manages to also capture an older version of the city. After all, it is an homage to classic films of this genre. There's even a scene, about halfway through, where the film directly acknowledges this. The moment applies to something else that's going on, of course, but it seems difficult to not miss the self-referential nature of the lines. To be entirely honest, I don't really have much of an affinity for the so-called Golden Age. I mean, yeah, I can recognize their importance and impact. But I won't be able to point out every little detail about La La Land that acts as an homage. However, I know the aesthetic, and I do truly love how that is applied to the modern era. There's very little, nothing, actually, that didn't impress me about La La Land. It's an intricately crafted, beautiful narrative, one that is truly deserving of every last bit of praise. If you haven't already, or can't, due to the film being released on 3 different dates, depending on where you live, make it your #1 priority to see this film. La La Land, 2016, is one of those few movies that left me in tears. At first sight, people may think that this is a light-hearted musical with bits of comedy. But if you look deeper, there is a serious issue that is being talked about throughout the movie. The movie's name reflects how people often get so caught up in their imaginary worlds, that they are then knocked hard by reality. This is exactly what happens when Mia and Sebastian believe that they have finally reached their dreams. They have no idea what's coming next. As the beautiful song City of Stars plays, we see how the characters are excited to be moving towards their goals. This scene manages to show the contrast between a romanticized Hollywood and reality. Eventually we learn that Sebastian doesn't enjoy playing the modern music everybody wants, but the jazz he has a true passion for. He struggles between living what others think the dream looks like vs living his own dream. And as we get closer to the end, we see how the City of Stars everybody wants separates the two. They both choose their careers over their relationship, they both genuinely want the other to succeed. But they had to sacrifice each other in order to achieve their ambitions, and both end up feeling like their dreams are incomplete without one another. This dilemma is the main theme of the movie. Will achieving your dream be enough? What are you willing to sacrifice to achieve it? La La Land shows how ambitions become reality, but it doesn't always mean that it is a reality that the dreamer wanted, and that can be heartbreaking. I have to give credit to all the songs in the movie as well. La La Land made me fall in love with the sound of the piano, and I even started learning to play songs from the movie. These songs aren't just background music, they move the plot along and highlight the themes of the movie. Here is a sampling of the powerful lyrics. La La Land has a different meaning for every person. I stumbled across a lot of different opinions on what the movie is about. But it's beautiful that everyone finds something for themselves. I really recommend the movie. A big thank you to Damien Chazelle for creating this masterpiece. La La Land, 2016, is a fantasy. It's a beautiful lie. But if the real world is harsh and indifferent, at best, to the plight of the dreamers, the believers, and the naive who think they're special when they're not, and those who think they'll beat the odds, although they won't, then that's all the more reason to enter this candy-colored dream world, where a simple girl becomes a famous, glamorous, movie star complete with a loving family, and where an earnest boy can hold on to his dignity, independence, and integrity to reach all his professional goals. This suspension of reality, this joy in the incredible and improbable success of personable and relatable characters is why we go to the movies. It's why we immerse ourselves in the dreamscape of the cinema. But La La Land holds back from delivering a true Hollywood happy ending. As if to ease us back into the mundane struggles that confront us without the cinemascope romance, or the choreographed soundtrack, or the magical, Lucky Encounters. The movie ends with the melancholy lament of regret by showing us a glimpse into an alternate, happier ending to the one we are given. But this alternate ending was just a daydream, only possible if everything had been perfect and every choice or decision made by the characters had been the right one. This, of course, is impossible even in a fantasy movie. So we are left with only this: your dreams may not work out exactly as you expect, but while you hold on to them, and truly work to achieve them, you are living a life full of wonder and hope. What a beautiful place to be, as fantastic and romantic as any movie. What a great way to shield and protect yourself from a cruel and uncaring world. So, go on, go after your dream, even if it seems foolish, because sometimes dreams do come true, and even if they don't completely, what you do achieve because you went after your dream will still be something wonderful and unique. Not a bad story for a running time of 2 hours and 8 minutes. La La Land, 2016, is only writer/director Damien Chazelle's third feature, but given the runaway success of his last effort, Whiplash, 2014, it was no surprise some studio head gave the 31-year-old director carte blanche on his next outing. Clearly he took advantage. He made a musical. Chazelle has thus far demonstrated a strong commitment to jazz music, not just as a motif but as a binding thread in crafting his stories. Whiplash used jazz to unfurl a tragedy worthy of an Arthur Miller play, and his first feature, Guy and Madeline on a Park Bench, 2009, twisted the free form of jazz into a postmodern satire on love and beauty. La La Land draws a shamelessly obvious parallel between the fading fame of jazz and the fading glamour of Hollywood, contextualizing this theme within the romance between two avowed LA traditionalists, Emma Stone, the aspiring actress raised on library copies of Bringing Up Baby, 1938, and Notorious, 1946, and Sebastian, Ryan Gosling, the resolute jazz pianist spinning away his Thelonious Monk albums and drinking alone in jazz cafes beneath a 6-foot photo of Bill Evans. The less said about their romance and the less said about the plot, the better. I barely won the honor of reviewing this film in a pitched game of rock paper scissors with Reed, so I don't want to waste it on summation. Plus, as with those Vincente Minnelli/Stanley Donen films which La La Land evokes, this is a tale better shown, not told. But believe me when the sight, and, God, the sound, is one worth beholding. Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone are absolutely flawless together on screen. Their chemistry is likely to be discussed ad nauseum as critics quickly turn La La Land into a darling, but it's important to note that, independent of one another, as they are for a solid portion of the film, both of these actors are at the absolute top of their game. This is a star vehicle for two huge talents. Hollywood used to crank out excuses for Dean Martin to appear on screen with Marilyn Monroe and Bergman and Bogart before that, but it's still an utter delight to see a film pairing two stars of such equal talent and merit. Composer Justin Hurwitz, who collaborated with Chazelle on his last two features, delivers an absolutely magnificent score. It's jazzy and big band-y and showtune-y and poppyish and orchestral and sentimental and absolutely deft at evoking any and all emotions Chazelle and Hurwitz might want out of you. In the words of Reed, do yourself a favor and go see La La Land. I'll add to that, do yourself a favor and go hear La La Land. If La La Land is an awards-worthy film, it is for the same reasons as 2011's The Artist, 2012's Argo, and 2014's Birdman. In recent years Hollywood has been on a self-effacing kick. The Academy has made it a priority to reward those introspective films that question the very purpose of the medium in society. Meta-cinema is in vogue in the 21st century. The Artist contextualized film's place in the modern world by taking us back to its silent origins. Argo used a true-life political thriller as the wrapping paper around an examination of narrative and all its pitfalls, and Birdman brought the character into the postmodern by reminding us all that the people behind the curtain suffer extraordinarily to entertain their ravenous populace. La La Land is no exception to this trend, but perhaps offers a more inspirational take, if not necessarily a positive one. Yes, Given that it's a love letter to Golden Age Hollywood musicals, La La Land is predictably sentimental and gaudy and escapist, but succeeds beautifully at capturing the essence of such genre tropes. If La La Land had been released 60 years ago, starring Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers, it would likely have become just another movie classic that the family might be happy to catch on TCM around Christmas time. As it stands, La La Land could be viewed as a 1st worldwide problem satire, but that's never the ostensible point of such hackneyed plots and character conflicts. Yes, the entire conceit behind the character's central dilemmas is privileged beyond belief. I want to be an actress. Yeah, well, I want to be a musician. But with the benefit of hindsight, and over 5 decades between this Hollywood musical and those that came before, La La Land ends up feeling like a breath of fresh air. Chazelle is as comfortable with his camera as a pianist with his keys, and treats it with the same regard. He knows the rules and therefore might break them, twirling and spinning the lens around 180 degrees to catch a reaction shot, tracking seamlessly across rooms to capture a single emotional beat, and highlighting every cymbal crash and minor fifth with his trademark punch-ins. La La Land is shot by Linus Sandgren, most famous for David O. Russell's Joy, 2015, and American Hustle, 2013. Like Russell, Chazelle seems to embrace a dynamic camera, but unlike Russell, Chazelle knows to let the scene govern the camera, and not the other way around. Each shot is presaged by an emotional moment or plot point, and the writing fuels every wide frame close-up and brightly lit profile. There is nothing wasted and nothing superfluous. The music is obviously the driving force behind most of the moments, even those scenes in La La Land that do not include a musical number are implicitly governed by musical composition. Chazelle has made a symphony of a film, with commensurate arc, story, character, cinematography, editing, score riding along in a unified progression. The colors here are extraordinary. The film begins teasingly in black and white, with the color fading up as the truncated CinemaScope logo is unveiled by the pillar boxes sweeping out to reveal the whole screen. From then on, the film coruscates with pastels and shimmering set pieces. But no element is given as much attention as the two leads. Gosling spills out muted golds and Gilded Age bronze, while Stone is all but worshipped by luxurious reds and joyful yellows. The art direction here is staggering, featuring almost none of the LA landmarks we expect to see from a film literally titled L.A., aside from a prominent tongue-in-cheek inclusion of the famous observatory lifted straight out of Rebel Without a Cause, 1955. We see murals and movie houses and half-empty jazz lounges and sprawling party scenes that would make Baz Luhrmann retire early, if only. The musical numbers are lovingly orchestrated, and although Gosling and Stone are no Kelly and Vera Ellen, they move with a graceful chemistry that breathes life into the simple dance steps. I noticed one moment that perhaps best illustrates the level of meticulousness and craftsmanship Chazelle is working with. A little after the midpoint, Mia, Stone, is walking home to her apartment. Lonely, she calls Sebastian, Gosling, to let him know she's been missing him. The shot dollies backward as Stone approaches the camera. It's a standard one-shot walk and talk, seemingly just a filler filmed out of necessity for this moment in the story. The score underneath is just that, underneath. It's low and uninspired and subconscious, just as film scores are so often designed to be. Then, all of a sudden, as Stone hangs up her cell phone, the score trills upward. We hear a high B or something, followed by a few drags on a timpani. That clause in the song is clearly coming to an end. And just as the downbeat washes over your ears, an out-of-focus street light turns green in the background. You have just enough time to see it before Chazelle cuts away. What street light? That's it? You didn't even know it was there. Until it changed. Until it revealed itself not only as a player, but as the player. This moment makes the scene. It ushers Stone into the next set piece and releases the tension felt by her character in that moment of isolation. Gosling's Sebastian would say, "It's like jazz." Sometime in the last 75 or so years, escape became a dirty word. There are few more damning critiques of modern films than those that call them escapist. Critics use the term to pan superhero movies and raunchy ensemble comedies, perhaps rightfully so. Audiences will use the word to scoff at those films so mawkish or underwritten that their worlds are mere parodies of our own, for even the layman to see as facade and farce. If critics and scholars and analysts and even we as moviegoers want to stress the insubstantiality of a film, we will casually dismiss it as escapist. If a film isn't a Banksy or a Warhol or a Basquiat or a Rick Owens, it's just escapist trash. So says the so-called modern moviegoer. We forgot that in order for something to be escapist, it has to offer us a world familiar enough to escape into. Because although we all like to think we would prefer to run away into Harry Potter-type fantasies or a galaxy far, far away, we are ultimately endemic creatures. People love the comforts of home and friends and family and love. We escape into these beautiful worlds presented to us by filmmakers not because they're overly simplistic or maudlin or foolish or sentimental, but because they have that one nugget of familiarity that drops sparks in our eyes. At their best, escapist films are still human films. It's just that at some point along the way, we drop the humanity out of the equation. La La Land picks it right back up and threads it back in with a smile, a tear, a song, and a dance. It reminds us that there used to be a time when we could sit and enjoy a story about two people, desperately trying to live out their fantasies of a world long gone by, who find something else, something better, in each other. Go see La La Land. See it with your friends, with your parents, with your little sister, with your boyfriend or your girlfriend, or hell, see it with your ex-boyfriend, because you two are mature consenting adults and goddammit you can maintain enough of a civil relationship to go see a movie together, but don't forget you're still better off without that piece of shit. But please, make this film your priority. The people that made it for you sure did. As I begin to write this review with the sensational soundtrack starts playing through my headphones. What I am writing about here is arguably one of my favorite movies. In this review, I shall discuss the plot, my thoughts, why people weren't so keen. The movie I am talking about is La La Land, the 14 times Oscar nominated and 5-time Oscar winner. I first watched this very late, as I missed the arguments on whether this film was good or not. However, I'm glad I eventually saw it. I'm certainly not the first one to choose a musical when deciding on what I want to watch, but I am a fan of musicals, no doubt. The plot. I understand some have issues with whether the plot was very fulfilling or not. However, I choose to ignore this because I am in love with the plot. The story follows a struggling actress, Mia, Emma Stone, and piano player, Sebastian, Ryan Gosling. Both characters crave their dream job and dream life, which eventually draws them together. This relationship we follow is amazingly written due to its honesty. These characters have both this love for each other but also maintain a love for themselves too. We get to understand how desire can sometimes overrule love, especially when trying to support yourself and your dreams as well as each other. My feelings towards the film, and what I love about it. I have to start with the beautifully made soundtrack. Each song is so unique to the film, and I'm obsessed with the many layers in the songs. My personal favorite is City of Stars, as I'm a huge fan of when films use musical repetition, repeating the same piece of music to enhance an emotion. I feel this makes the movie so much more memorable, and the song is on its own so beautiful. I also love how unpredictable the film is. In most romance and musical films, you can usually guess the ending due to cliché or repeated storylines. However, this wasn't the case for La La Land. Without spoiling, I know some were upset with the ending, but I felt it was realistic, and although gutting, left me thinking, wow, they did that. I truly love this movie and all the artistic choices made. It's a wonderful watch. I want to touch on the controversy when the film first came out in 2016. I understand I didn't personally watch it at this time, however, I did hear that a lot of people loved and a lot of people hated this film. I suppose I can never fully understand why people don't like this film, but research showed it was due to an unfulfilling plot and out-of-place scenes. I respect people's opinions and think this is due more to people's taste in cinema. The other factor I found when researching was people weren't happy with Stone and Gosling singing and dancing. I find this to be strange. I love to see these famous faces pushing themselves out of their comfort zones and giving something different and unexpected. Given they aren't the best singers in the world, but they made some great music in the films, and the infamous A Lovely Night dance scene, which no one could argue with. I conclude my review with a few final thoughts. I will always find this film much more than enjoyable, but an amazing example of a musical and romance story done right. I can understand why there was controversy over people's tastes and own opinions, whether I choose to agree or not. La La Land has won awards and has mostly a fantastic response, which I feel one cannot argue. It is and will always be a beautiful film, with amazing actors, fabulous musical numbers, and brilliant directing, no doubt. I would most definitely recommend it for all to watch. It's one of my favorites, and I wish I could have seen it in theaters. I saw La La Land on a Monday at noon, with a bunch of press and industry people recovering from hangovers of various types and intensities accrued over a weekend at the Toronto International Film Festival. We'd all had to wait in line to see it, some of us for over an hour, in unseasonable heat on ugly street corners. The audience was mostly miserable when we actually sat down to watch the movie, a grumpy collection of deeply cynical and jaded people. Then the movie started and the room went giddy for 2 hours. La La Land is the only movie screening for professional critics I have ever attended in which the crowd spontaneously burst into applause several times in the middle of the movie. It was kid stuff, the reaction of children who don't know that the movies aren't real. Who the hell were we applauding? Who was going to hear us? But La La Land is the kind of movie that is going to make a lot of jaded people so happy that they end up doing silly things. There is no way for me to explain this movie's pleasures in a way that makes sense. It is a musical filled with people who are not really that great at dancing or singing, but their lack of skill only seems to make the movie more enjoyable. It is a big budget feature starring Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling that aspires to be a loopy independent. It's shot in CinemaScope and obsessed with Hollywood classics, but it feels more contemporary than any other movie I've seen this year. Confused? You're supposed to be, I think. The plot, at least, is not confusing. The story is about as basic as they come. Two young people move to Los Angeles from the irrelevant parts of America and want to be famous and find love, in that order. Emma Stone, as Mia, wants to be an actress. Ryan Gosling, as Sebastian, wants to own his own jazz club. They hate each other for a while. Then they start to like each other. They struggle in their careers in amusing and tortured ways. You get to see Emma Stone in a bunch of terrible auditions. You get to see Ryan Gosling play Iran in an 80s tribute band. They sing and dance. The plot is mainly an excuse for a series of fabulous set pieces. The delight in illusion is the subject of La La Land, but it's also the movie's main business. The film's opening shot, an instant classic, follows a bunch of cars on the LA freeway during a traffic jam, each listening to their own music, and then the scene morphs into a musical number and everybody gets out of their cars and sings the same song. When Mia and Sebastian go on their first date, they find themselves dancing around Griffith Observatory, and then, as they're dancing, they slowly rise into the air and dance among the stars. I know that sounds absurd. It is. Gloriously absurd. The combination of Los Angeles and a musical and an inside look at Hollywood brings up memories of Singin' in the Rain, of course, and La La Land repeatedly pays homage to that earlier classic. But Singin' in the Rain is about success, La La Land is about struggle. And that is what makes this movie so resonant. It is a film about all the young women working in coffee shops who want to write or act, and all the young men parking cars who geek out on Thelonious Monk. It is fundamentally a celebration of the enthusiasm of young people who surge into New York and Los Angeles every year because they love being around the movies or music or whatever it is, and who don't listen to the good advice of their parents, and almost all of whom fail nobly despite their passion and their fervor. You could see La La Land as a love song to Los Angeles, or as a love song to Hollywood, like so many great movies before it. It's something else as well, though. La La Land is a love song to the creative underclass. It makes their struggle beautiful. And it captures, in its performance as well as its subject, the reason we all love this stuff so much. It's just a whole lot of fun. Okay, this review will discuss the plot of the film in some detail, including the ending, so if you want to avoid hearing more, and I think the film is best enjoyed as an experience if you don't know what happens at all, don't read on. A sweeping camera carries us over a freeway. The drivers honk horns and impatiently stare at the gridlock. Then the camera hones in one woman who starts to sing. Then others join in. The camera never cuts as the singing and dancing spreads around the whole freeway. Through the number, it follows people back into their cars and then settles on a woman reading over her audition piece. It's a bravura moment, an ambitious piece of cinematic daring. It tells us that we are in for a ride. We get on. Seb, Ryan Gosling, and Mia, Emma Stone, are early 30-somethings in Los Angeles. She is trying to make it as an actress, and this film really shows the soul-destroying nature of auditions. He dreams of opening a jazz club. Their paths cross a few times, until they meet at a party where he is performing as part of a terrible covers band. They flirt, they fall in love. But can true love survive the ups and downs of life? Firstly, Chazelle directs wonderfully, and Gosling and Stone are radiant in these roles. Emma Stone gives the sort of performance that makes her automatically popular. Mia is warm, funny, kind, but also slightly prickly and lacking in confidence about making that big break. Seb is engaging, animated, confident, but also slightly distant, standoffish with an intensity behind his eyes. Both actors carry the whole film. This is almost a two-hander, as virtually no other actor has more than a few minutes of screen time, and are simply brilliant, capturing that mix of Hollywood magic and real-life tension that the film mixes together throughout its running time. Very rarely have I seen a film before that I think caught the magic of falling in love as effectively as this one did. The third of the film given to the courtship between Gosling and Stone's characters is sweet, endearing, heartwarming, and rings very true. It has exactly the right sense of tentativeness and uncertainty alongside the natural chemistry between the two leads, that sense of nervousness because you are not sure if the other person is feeling what you are feeling. This portion of the film brilliantly succeeds in getting the viewer to invest in this relationship between the two characters. Chazelle also fills the frame at this point with some of the best Hollywood old-school musical magic. The song and dance routines really work here, giving visual expression to the high-flung emotions of our heroes. The sequence at Griffith Observatory is the obvious highlight here, but the relationship is handled so well that their first date at the cinema beforehand feels overwhelmingly sweet and real. It's never cloying, and for a film that, certainly during this section, is a real confection, that is quite some achievement. And that's the first point in the film where it could stop. But this is a film where Chazelle wants to combine the high concept of cinema with the difficult reality of real life. So what this film is really about is not romance but the sometimes painful truth that relationships, for a number of reasons, don't always work out. That even the most perfect couple can, for reasons of career, ambition, or due to just everyday mistakes, end up drifting apart, even if they still remain deeply emotionally attached to each other. What Chazelle does so well is that seeing these two slowly work towards breaking up isn't traumatizing or unbearably sad, it seems natural and real, something almost inevitable. In fact, we can all see the mistakes happening, the ill-thought-out angry words, the events missed. We can see where it is going, but the underlying affection and love between the two characters is still there, so there remains the hope that they will conquer this sticky patch as per hundreds of films before. Chazelle teases us, and there are several moments again where the film could stop that would leave the audience with optimism that a future reconciliation will occur, or that they will rekindle that initial spark. A possible ending is before the 5-year time jump that covers the final 5 minutes, Mia and Seb sit after her last audition. Neither of them are sure what will happen next, but both of them confess they will always love the other. Many films would end here, and we could interpret what will happen next. Chazelle takes us forward 5 years for a beautifully moving bittersweet coda, heavily inspired by the end of An American in Paris, where we see both have achieved their ambitions, but not with each other. Mia is married with a young child, Seb seemingly single. Mia finds herself in Seb's bar on opening night. Their eyes meet across the room and the whole cinema seems to crackle with the emotion. We know in seconds that they still devoted to each other, and regret consumes the room. Seb begins to play their love theme on the piano. Chazelle then gives us a masterful flashback to their first meeting and a wordless, music and dance accompanied replay of the entire film with every mistake corrected, showing them the life they could have had. It's a beautiful tease. Is this a dream? Was the film we watched a dream? Chazelle could leave us at the end of the sequence and allow us to make up our mind. Instead we return to the bar, as Mia leaves. They catch each other's eyes and smile. It's a smile that says love, it says happiness for the other, but it also carries regret and acknowledgement that they may never see each other again. It's a beautiful moment, profoundly true and moving, and perfectly encapsulates our regret for the road not taken. Chazelle's La La Land was a passion project for the director, and his passion for it is clear. It's beautifully filmed, hugely affecting, and the song and dance moments will put a smile on your face as well as being moving. Your response to it will be affected by how you respond to the mixing of Hollywood glamour with kitchen sink reality. My wife was jarred by the fact that the film seems to promise the happy ending that old school musicals so regularly delivered, but then inverts the concept at the end. I, however, found the ending perfect, and the bittersweet sadness of the road not taken in life, a life where other dreams and ambitions are achieved, very moving. It's a film that asks us to question our decisions and place values on dreams and ambitions. I'd need to see it again to decide how successfully it does this. In the real world, Mia achieves her dreams and is unwilling to sacrifice them to be just a partner to Seb. In the dream sequence, Seb drops his dreams to support Mia, and the film may be suggesting that two ambitious people in a difficult world like this will struggle to be mutually successful. However, it is also clear that one of the things drives Mia away from Seb is his own drift away from immediately pursuing his dream, by signing on for years of touring with a band playing music he hates. What is the message here? Is there a message? Or is the message that life is never clean, never easy, and that having dreams in an adult world will always complicate lives? It's a question I look forward to addressing when I watch this wonderful film again. It's too early to say if this is a classic, but it will do until the next classic comes along. Well, it's January and that only means one thing, the release of the Oscar bait movies. Saying that I was very excited to see this film is an understatement, because not only am I a sucker for a good musical, but I'll admit to being interested in the pairing of Gosling and Stone. Also, I was intrigued to see what the director of Whiplash would do with a musical picture to make it fresh and unique. The premise of the story is that Stone is a young actress who has moved to LA to wait tables while auditioning to try to make it, while Gosling is a jazz purist. Anyone who doesn't like jazz just doesn't have the right context, he insists, who plays the piano in bars to make a living and dreams of opening his own jazz bar. Or to put it succinctly, two young artists meet and fall in love while chasing their dreams. The musical flows thematically from first love to heartbreak and every other emotion between, with a great score throughout. The most impressive thing about the film is just how daringly it dances between the old-fashioned singing in the rain style of musical to a bolder, modern take on the genre. The songs and dance numbers are great and are an undoubted homage to classic musicals, a thoughtful mixture of old-school dance numbers you'd expect from a musical in the 50s, and emotionally wrenching ballads that hit you where it hurts. There is one particular sequence toward the end of the film which is a real gut punch. Stylistically, the film skirts the same line. The film again looks and acts like a classic musical, but frequently we see low-key reminders that this is modern times. Actresses use their iPhones, a video being seen on YouTube, etc. to remind us that this is set in the present day. If we didn't have these reminders, the visuals would almost have you thinking that this is the 1950s. The cinematography is beautiful and overall the film is visually stunning. It is wonderfully directed with the same masterful control of pace and tension that we come to expect from Damien Chazelle thanks to Whiplash. Gosling, in particular, is absolutely terrific, with a typically sardonic wit throughout. At the start of the film when his sister says she's worried about him as life seems to have him on the ropes, he responds, "I want to be on the ropes. I'm just letting life think it has me," and then before you know it, bam. It's a classic rope-a-dope. His delivery of these lines can't be matched. Gosling owns the part and it shows with the role being made for him with tons more of the above kind of lines. But more than that, Gosling captures a real emotional intensity at the film's emotional breaking points, more specifically in the sequence towards the end of the film which I won't spoil. He manages to convey such convincing emotion without so much as a word. Emma Stone also gives a fantastic performance. She has a wonderful emotional range, from the ecstatic highs of love to the tearful, painful lows. In terms of the Gosling/Stone films, this is by far the best. Their undoubted chemistry is given the full spotlight in this film with freedom to explore said chemistry without restriction. The film is ultimately everything it had the potential to be, an unashamed romantic musical, infused not only with a great song and dance numbers but with intense emotion and charisma from Gosling/Stone, wonderful visuals, and a unique pacing and tension from Chazelle. Oh, and it's hilarious throughout too. A genuine achievement, must be one of the best films I've seen in a long while. Coming off the Golden Globes, it is easy to see why it cleaned up and is sure to do well at this year's Oscars. Every barista hopes for stardom. Every backstreet bar musician imagines making it big. Los Angeles is home to soaring, heavenly hopes, and to crushing disappointment when dreams die. And the difference between those two outcomes can perch on the knife edge of fate. Mia is an aspiring actress, working, of course, at a coffee shop on a movie studio lot. Auditions are many. Callbacks are few. And beautiful competitors lining up for the roles she hopes to land. Well, they're as infinite as the stars in the sky. Sebastian, meanwhile, is a virtuoso jazz pianist. But he doesn't crave fame. His dream? To restore a famed jazz club in LA to its former glory. Except, well, no one really listens to jazz anymore. And even the people who do, like his friend Keith, who wants him join his more contemporary jazz fusion band, don't play old school tunes anyway. So there they are, Mia killing time making lats and writing a one-woman play she hopes to stage, and Sebastian pondering the surprisingly lucrative compromise that accepting Keith's offer represents. But in Los Angeles, and in the movies, struggling dreamers rarely struggle alone. So it's not long before Mia and Sebastian's paths cross in this old-fashioned musical, a song and dance-filled love letter to Hollywood's golden age, albeit with a few content nods to the 21st century. Mia and Sebastian fall in love. But what happens to their budding romance when their dreams actually begin to come true? La La Land is a deeply romantic, light-hearted throwback that turns on the tension between two artists being drawn together by their mutual affection and simultaneously pulled apart by the success they find. The film doesn't make any grand philosophical statements, but it does suggest that sometimes life forces us to make choices between pursuing a relationship and pursuing our vocational dreams. Sebastian, rightly, senses that Mia's mother doesn't think much of him or his plan to open a jazz club. He's motivated to take the gig with Keith in part because it pays well and will offer the couple more stability. Sebastian also goes to great lengths to help Mia get a part in the movie, albeit one that ultimately places huge strain on their relationship. In a conversation with his sister, Sebastian says of his long-suffering attempts to make his dreams come true, "I'm letting life hit me until it gets tired. Then I'm going to hit it back." Sebastian simply oozes jazz, so much so that his passion for it sometimes gets him in trouble. Working as a restaurant pianist, for instance, he just can't resist the impulse to sprinkle some jazz standbys in amid the Christmas carols he's supposed to be playing. He knows he'll get fired for doing so, but he does it anyway. The film frames this oppositional defiant choice as an expression of Sebastian's integrity and romantic nature. Mia and Sebastian eventually go their separate ways. Mia and Sebastian see each other years later, and Mia ponders what her relationship with Sebastian might have looked like. In the end, though, it's clear that she's able to remember the love that she and Sebastian shared without having it destabilize the relationship with the man she eventually marries. Mia and Sebastian kiss. After she moves in with him, we see the couple in bed together, though not in a sexual way. She's shown in a clingy nightie. We also see Mia kissing a wealthy boyfriend, before she and Sebastian get serious, with whom she obviously has little real chemistry. There's some other kissing as well. Mia's shown wrapped in a towel, her shoulders are visible, after getting out of the shower. Bikini-clad women populate pool parties. Some women wear revealing outfits, including plunging tops and short dresses/skirts. An engaged couple kisses. Characters drink wine, champagne, beer, etc., in various scenes, including one at a fairly raucous Hollywood party. Sebastian and Mia sing a song in the famous Griffith Observatory at night. While it's not clear that they broke in, it's obviously after hours, because no one's there. La La Land features just enough content to merit its PG-13 rating and to remind us that we're living in the 21st century. But apart from a handful of harsh profanities and a cohabitating couple, this song-filled, cynicism-free romance is about as old-fashioned as it gets these days. Mia, Emma Stone, and Sebastian, Ryan Gosling, sing and dance, laugh and cry, then sing and dance some more. Their romance, which is always in tension with their individual dreams, dazzles and delights. A happily ever after ending of sorts eventually emerges, but not before we're reminded of the potential relational costs of prioritizing our vocational dreams above all else. The story, while not particularly deep, doesn't rely on shock and awe special effects or shock and awe gross-out gags. Instead, director Damien Chazelle unleashes an old-school, tour de force musical, proving that original, Oscar-worthy movie-making without R-rated gratuity is actually still possible in Tinseltown. There was a moment back in the 1970s, sometime before Grease came out, when the image of people bursting into song and dance in the middle of a motion picture wasn't simply corny and antiquated, it had come to seem downright strange. Not anymore. Our era is immersed in retro musical culture, and it has been for a while, from the visionary postmodern pop swoon of Moulin Rouge, to the online resurgence of music video, to the high camp a cappella sincerity of Glee and the Pitch Perfect films. So what does it take to make a musical today look unabashedly exotic? Damien Chazelle's La La Land, which opened the Venice Film Festival on a voluptuous high note of retro glamour and style, is the most audacious big-screen musical in a long time, and irony of ironies, that's because it's the most traditional. In his splashy, impassioned, Shoot the Moon third feature, Chazelle, the 31-year-old writer-director of Whiplash, pays virtuoso homage to the look and mood and stylized trappings of the Hollywood musicals of the 40s and, especially, the 50s, glorious soundstage spectacles of star-spangled rapture, with added shades of Jacques Demy and New York, New York. A lot of people still find old musicals corny or think, mistakenly, that they're quaint. Yet the form remains stubbornly alive in the bones of our culture. That's why it feels so right, in La La Land, to see a daring filmmaker go whole hog in recreating a lavish studio system musical, replete with starry nights and street lamps lighting up the innocence of soft shoe romance, and two people who were meant for each other literally dancing on air. La La Land is set in contemporary Los Angeles, but its heart and soul are rooted in the past, and so are its characters. Sebastian, Ryan Gosling, a sleek jazz pianist in silk ties who's a cranky purist about what he listens to, what he plays, and where he plays it, and Mia, Emma Stone, an aspiring actress and playwright who's deep into the magic of the old movie stars, though she's a tad less obsessive about her fixation. She works as a barista on the Warner Brothers lot and is always cutting out of work to get to auditions. If one of them ever resulted in her landing an acting job, she'd probably be ecstatic no matter what it was. These two meet, scuffle, and fall in love, and they do it through a series of song and dance numbers, composed by Justin Hurwitz. The lyrics are by Benj Pasek and Justin Paul, that are tenderly shocking in their catchy anachronistic beauty. The film's score is such a melodious achievement that there are moments it evokes the bittersweet majesty of George Gershwin. The movie opens with one of the most extraordinary sequences in years, a musical number, set in the middle of a morning drive-time traffic jam along a vast stretch of LA freeway, that is all done in one shot, in the look mono hands. Tradition of the famous openings of Touch of Evil or The Player. Chazelle's camera glides and twirls with astonishing choreographic intricacy among the passengers on their way to work, as they emerge, one by one, from their cars and flip and dance on top of them, fusing into the chorus of a song called Another Day of Sunday. Cinematically, the sequence makes the impossible look easy, and it suggests a gotta see factor that could help to turn La La Land into a prestige novelty hit. In its way, though, the sequence, with its giddy optimism, sets up certain emotional expectations. The movie has a lot of time to get moodier, and it ultimately does. Yet Chazelle, by staging this number with so much seductive pizzazz, taps our hunger to return to and stay inside an enchanted romantic universe. Sebastian and Mia are among the freeway drivers, and they're introduced, after a flurry of angry horn honks, by flipping each other the bird, at which point the film travels into Mia's life, her bedroom with its posters of lilies of the field and the black cat, her 3 glam roommates, and a party that leads to another all-in-one take musical number, or close enough to it. There are a couple of cuts. Then, finally, Mia is standing there, a little desolate, on the street, and she hears a lonely piano and heads into the bar the music is coming from, and the whole image fades to darkness, except for her, as she lays her eyes on him. Across a crowded room. A stranger playing the piano. Except that the look on her face tells you he's no stranger at all. She's not just staring, she's falling. That's the sublimity of old Hollywood, where we believed that it could happen just like this. This film. Directed by Damien Chazelle. Written by Damien Chazelle. Produced by Fred Berger. Starring Ryan Gosling. Cinematography Linus Sandgren. Edited by Tom Cross. Music by Justin Hurwitz. Production company Summit Entertainment. Distributed by Lionsgate. Release dates August 31, 2016. Running time 128 minutes. Country United States. Language English. Budget $30 million. Box office $504.6 million.